watching by the poplars, colonette with the sea blue eyes. She's watching and longing and waiting where the long white roadway lies, and a song stirs in the silence as the wind in the boughs above. She listens and starts and trembles. 'Tis the first little song of love. Roses are shining in Picardy, in the hush of the silver dew. Roses are flowering in Picardy, but there's never a rose like you. And the roses will die with the summertime, and our roads may be far apart, but there's one rose that dies not in Picardy. 'Tis the rose that I keep in my heart. And the years fly on forever, till the shadows veil their skies. But he loves to hold her little hands and look in her sea blue eyes. And she sees the road by the poplars where they met in the bygone years, for the first little song of the roses is the last little song she hears. Roses are shining in Picardy, in the hush of the silver dew. Roses are flowering in Picardy, but there's never a rose like you. And the roses will die with the summertime, and our roads may be far apart, but there's one rose that dies not in Picardy. 'Tis the rose that I keep in my heart.
Hello everyone, my name is Notepad and on and I write games for fun. So what are we doing today? Well, today we're going to be working on Trenchfoot, and hopefully we're actually going to be finishing the, I'm going to say the 99% of the game. As last time what we did was we worked on Boots and Mud, otherwise known as the actual combat, the actual game part of the game. And we managed to get down to the compliance phase, because most everything in this game is going to be broken down into 5 phases. Well, or 6 phases technically, but one isn't really a phase. We have the objective phase, in which you choose where you're starting, the deployment phase, in which you set up everything, the order phase, in where you write down your orders, the compliance phase, which is just resolving those orders, the resolution phase, which is actually doing the combat, which I'll probably change to the combat phase, and finally the resupply phase, which is calling in reinforcements and calling in the reserves. So, last time, I did shift these around slightly. They're in alphabetical order now. I think that'll be look a little bit better. And I did change, instead of leg brigades, to just brigades. And I did get a question like, why did I put available orders here and then what they actually do down here? Mostly I did it for the sake of like, I want to explain what the hell you're going to be doing up here. So when you do see how they're resolved, it's like, okay, I understand now that it's like, I can select the advanced. This is what the advanced does. Then we have compliance phase. Most everything is pretty standard in that regard. We do have these. The advance order is pretty simple. I did for all of these do have their own little thing I did in just Paint. They're not exactly the most complex in the world, but they should make things a little bit easier to understand, including words of encouragement. I did end up using Carlito. You're making faces at your Discord for being retarded. Yes. My Discord is stupid. I love everybody in my Discord, but y'all fucking stupid. Wait a second. 3, 2, 1. Oh, I'll snap my back into place. But yeah, that's pretty much the plan today. Pretty much we need to do what battles are actually made of and how battles are fought. Because, you know, in a war game, we need to have war. So, yeah, we're going to call this the combat phase. I think that's going to work a little bit better. That's just what combat is. And then we're going to, okay. Nice and easy combat phase. Which we're going to bring up to heading 2, I believe. It would be heading 2, right? Yes, heading would be heading 2. So we go to the combat phase. And when the men have been given the order, it would be cross the top. Actually, no, they will go over the top. They'll go over the top of the trench of their trench and immediately rush toward the opposing line using whatever cover they can find. This phase is both simple and complex, as it's a actually no, this phase is simple to understand, but with many moving pieces. There may be multiple quote battles end quote taking place on a single turn. Oof, ow, yes. There we go. Scratching my shoulder. Oh, Jesus. That's some legal stuff. Oh, God. With that, if he's a legal thing, was it like taxes or something? You may be able to make a bid for the taxes in that regard. That's, yeah, that's kind of yeah, it's fine. Yeah, if it's taxes, you may be able to get through the IRS. They may be able to understand because it's not your fault necessarily. If it's not in that regard, if it's more legal stuff, do you have contracts? Oh, fuck, Medicaid. Oh, Medicaid. Oh. My brother, I worked in medical insurance for about a year. I had to pretty much do medical insurance stuff. I understand Medicaid. I understand that Medicaid fucking sucks. And oof. That's not, yeah. I can't really help anything on that. All I can really say is call Medicaid, try to find out some stuff there. If he's got medical insurance through another company, they may be able to do something. Like, that's... Medicaid... Actually, it depends on which... if he's getting Medicaid through somebody else, that could be... That could get a little bit more complicated. Yeah. All I'm saying is, check literally every single option you have available right now. Because that sucks. Like, and I can't really say anything. It's hard to say something in this regard, but it's like, yeah, that's a oof moment. There's nothing I can really do. I really wish, like... Oh, fuck. Yeah, okay. I get what you're saying. I get what you're putting down there. I get it. I get what you're saying. It's yeah, consult with everybody you can. That's kind of that's the only suggestion I can give in this situation. Especially if he signs some things off, that's fucked. That's all I can really say. That's fucked. But yeah, no, so hopefully this is a little bit more relaxing than anything, so... Oh, God. Yeah, that's a little bit weird. Yeah, that's a... Make sure they didn't just shunt everything off onto you, though. Like, make sure that isn't like, oh, he'll pay for everything, and then they somehow signed your name off somewhere. That could be an issue, especially if you're like a co-signer of some variety. That's like, ugh, ugh, ugh. Yeah. Man, the White Room is wild. Yeah, it is. I love my Jannies. I love all of them. They're my best friends. Love them all to death. I'm gonna get an order. Multiple outs taking place in single turn. At the most simple description. At the most simple description, all battles are determined. All battles are deterministic. It is damage is. Let's see. How do I want to word this? Damage is actually damage will rarely change. Damage is based off of flat values, and once committed, they will not change. Entire units can be wiped out in a single bout of combat, and this is expected. And this is expected. It's up to the commander. It's up to the commander to call off the attack. It's up to the commander to call off the attack, allowing them to retreat, with retreat, bloodied but alive, or commit further, sending their men to their demise, or as hell. All right. I want to explain very simply. Now that is earlier than a midnight rant. I have read. Yo, you read Boots and Mud? Yeah, Boots and Mud is like my one accomplishment, like getting the entire Daconia Boots and Mud thing published. That was my one accomplishment. I do have other Sprugazines planned. I do have other ones. What Sprugazines did I have planned? Let's see. If I go to my notice board, did I even write down which Sprugazines I had like planned out? Like I had a huge number of them. It's talking about Medicaid. Yeah, welcome. Yeah, don't worry about it. I was trying to help Ironside with something I could. For those not in the US, Medicaid sucks. Medicaid is a very complicated, stupid process that's actually trying to do something good. But it's a very complex process that like single like little bits can really fuck people over. And it's not fun. There's nothing fun about Medicaid, especially if if you sign some things wrong, you can really fuck over your family. And they want you to. That's the big thing. They want you to. Because they want you to go to Medicaid companies that know how to do it, who are going to charge you a shit ton of money to do something that shouldn't really be that hard. It's kind of dumb. So, let's see, the combat phase, war is hell. Ticks, so we want to do ticks of combat. Distance of engagement. Distance of engagement. Actually, no, this only occurs when a unit is attempting to advance through enemy fire, which will trigger a combat phase for that unit. Through that unit. Let's see. This only occurs when a unit is attempting to advance through enemy fire, though this will trigger a combat phase for that unit. All units have all brigades, I should say. All brigades have a engagement distance. I'll have a engagement distance of 5 inches. 5 inches. Should a unit cross through the distance of engagement, a straight line in front of the trench, then the straight line in front of the trench, then the advancing brigade is considered to be engaged. If a unit is in a forest, this is reduced to 3 inches. This is reduced to 3 inches. Actually, we're gonna do 6 inches and So minimum, you're gonna have to be 3 inches away from your enemy to build a trench. Because pretty much like one of the ideas what I want to occur is that enemies, like, you're going to be very close and you can actually engage enemies if they try to get out of their trench and move. So it's kind of the idea of like you're locking each other down. That's why this is really scary. This is why these are scary and why building trenches is so mandatory, because you've locked each other down. And if a unit attempts to advance out of their trench, then they're just going to get shot. They're going to die. They're going to get hurt. So they don't want to do that. That's why, you know, you want to build, you know, trenches longer and longer and longer and longer and longer, because the longer you build your trench, the bigger your distance of engagement is. However, it's getting more expensive to do things with. So it's kind of a back and forth, which you can have higher quality but smaller trenches or lower quality but longer trenches. Let's see. Let's see. It pains me to say that I found typos on the PDF. Nothing too savage, at least. I am doing my best here. I am a one-man like editing team, by the way. I'm not good at editing. Like, if small documents, I'm pretty good, but like when I'm reading my own stuff, it's like things get a little bit weird. Let's see. It seems that from complicated makes soldiers more like characters, and not a unit from an RTS, where sad part is you lose the unit, not actual people. Yeah, honestly, that's kind of the problem. That's like one of the big things with Iron Casket. is that I want you to feel expendable, but actually kind of build them to be a little bit more, how do I want to word this? You want to feel you want them to make them feel expendable, but you also at the entire time want them to feel very human. Being like, yeah, that's why I suggest always write something next to them and give them a little bit of character. Even with Boots in Mud. Give them a little bit of character, even if they are just expendable. They're dying, they're gone, and that's something you kind of gotta understand. That's kind of one of the things. That's a very, very human, unfortunate thing. Yeah, if you find typos, send them to me. I still have the original thing, and I can update typos. Like, don't worry about that. I can literally update it. It's great. The High Fleet version, there are some slight differences in that. Some actually pretty big one. Is that your game names are steadily getting better? You say that. I'm terrible at naming. This is a long-running joke at this point, is that I am horrible at naming things. Because I've consistently never been able to get good names when it comes to things, and I am very bad when it comes to it. I sat for a very long time debating Boots in Mud and Iron Caskets. I sat for a while for Boots in Mud. It was a few different names. What do you mean Monster Girl Adventures is an amazingly creative name? Yeah. Fun fact, Monster Girl Adventures was quite literally named that way because originally, here's the fun thing. Originally, Monster Girl's Adventures was going to be Monster Girl Encyclopedia, the role-playing game, but MGE RPG didn't roll off the tongue very well. So I'm like, well, so I decided Monster Girl Adventures. It's a little bit easier. Give me an idea. Can you play the World of Worlds kind of game on Boots and Mud? On some relics, really, and you use relics to deal with them? Yeah, you can. The hard part with that, here's the thing. The hard part with that is that you would need to stat out the actual kind of like the aliens, like War of the Worlds kind of thing. You need to stat those out, and they'd be a little bit weird. But, and I don't really, like, my one thing is I don't provide that many vehicles in it. No, Pet, are you the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 2e Monster Girl guy? No. I have insulted that man repeatedly. I think he's a fucking idiot. Gonna be honest with you all. The Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 2e Monster Girl guy, fucking moron. Literal subhuman intelligence. And I say that in the nicest way possible. He is like, Fun fact about that guy. There's two things about that guy you gotta know. One, he thinks he's amazing. He did for a while that he wanted to pretty much make his own Monster Girl Total War game because they wouldn't let him mod Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 2 with non-owned content. That was literally the reason. So he decided that he was going to make his own Total War game in Unity. I'm not fucking with you either. The problem is, and his other thing is, he has a wedding dress fetish. That is my one thing I know about him. He has a horrifying wedding dress fetish. And anytime you see a Tyneman Asagi picture posted in a Monster Girl world building thread, anytime you see Tyneman Asagi in her fucking wedding dress, it is him. Every single time. He has a Monster Girl wedding dress fucking fetish. And I remember when he revealed his wedding dress fetish, I was like, this is the weirdest fucking shit I've ever seen. Like, why? Oh, you want the lore? The lore is stupid. I read it because he wanted me to. Because I was one of the guys in Monster Girl world building. Me. I was one of the assholes who read it. It's stupid. It's moronic. It is the stupidest fucking writing I've ever heard. And I read a lot of stupid shit. Like, that was like, oh god, because like the issue with it is that he doesn't necessarily, this is completely different from Trenchfoot. Anyone who has wanted Trenchfoot stuff is not getting it right now. We're talking about Monster Girls. I'm sorry. I just put out a video for it. It's relevant. One of the issues of what he does is that he puts Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. This is the thing. He puts Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay and the Warhammer Fantasy World and Monster Girl Encyclopedia together. Not Monster Girls, Monster Girl Encyclopedia. MGE, and I'm going to have to do this when I start working on it again. I'm going to have to get him. I'm like, I'd call him a fucking idiot. It would literally just be an hour of me calling him a moron. The problem is, this is the big thing, is because MGE has a very strict cosmology. There's a very dedicated way that MGE works. And when we go on MGA, when we actually start working on that, I'm going to have to go into it. Because that is one of the possible options for MGA, and a very important option. There's a very dedicated cosmology and a very dedicated way things go. However, this is also where things get a little bit more complicated, is that Warhammer has a very dedicated cosmology and has a very dedicated way it works. He combined the two, and it becomes really weird. It doesn't work. The reason I am openly hostile to this guy is because I was in Monster Girl world building. Most of the people in Monster Girl world building were dumb fucks. I hated all of them. By the end of things, I hated all of them. No, he's not just using the system. That's what I thought at first too. But no, he was using everything. And it's real weird. I don't know why, but that's what he was doing. I admire the dedication though. That's the big thing. I admire the guy's dedication. I will never give him the time of day when it comes to his actual quality though. Absolutely not. Fuck it. Yeah, like, he wrote an insane amount of stuff. And that's why I said that was one of the issues. If he just converted everything over just using Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 2nd Edition, I could see it working. But, yeah, Monster Girl world building, if you ever want a fucking saga of disaster, it is that. And anytime you see MGW on the catalog and on TG, block it. Block the thread. Run away as fast as you fucking can. It is useless. He was an odd duck. I mean, if you again just tell me this is Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay for Monster Girls, fine. Oh, now no, they were bad before Iron. They were bad before. See, because what happened was Enslaved Anon show up. Enslaved Anon in his stupid setting. That guy was like legitimately autistic, I think. Like legitimately, he should not have been on 4chan. Like, I throw around the term, haha, you're autistic, haha. No, I throw that around a lot. That's the thing. And because, you know, in vernacular these days, autism has been kind of memed into a lot of different things. I use it in terms being like, you're very dedicated, maybe in a wrong direction. I call myself an autistic fuck. I'm not actually autistic. I'm not on the spectrum. I think he actually was. I think or there was something not right with him if he wasn't fucking with us. Which I was a firm believer that this guy's just fucking with us. I thought that for a very long time, but I don't think he was near the end. It wasn't necessarily like he thought it was his thread. I think he got really defensive because it was his writing. And because it was his writing and it was his thing, and he thought it was perfect. And because he thought it was perfect, he didn't understand why nobody else thought it was perfect. Because he did everything right. Which, it's a mess in that regard. And like, that's one of the problems with like Monster Girl adventures that I have to go through. This is a very important thing I have to go through with MGA. Is MGA was written for that thread. The MGA was very much written for that thread, and what I need to do is I need to literally chop everything up for it and just take everything away and try to fix something. Monster Girl world building threads, once in a while, they made a resurgence back, but then it was literally autistic shit flinging for like a solid like 3-4 days. They haven't been back up for good reason. MGW has been kind of folded into like the lewd serp. Like, yeah, like occasionally you can find them in the lewd threads, but they're not really super welcome. Like, that's the thing. They aren't really that welcome because it was such a fucking disaster area. There's a reason. It's funny too, because if you ever want a fun term, on JP, here, you know what I can do? Let's go to JP, everybody. This will be the first time probably many of you have seen this board. Yeah, welcome to JP, Otaku Culture. Fred, where's Monster Girl? Okay, yeah. Here's Mon. Yeah, this is Mon. It became like a noted fact. A noted fact of life that if you ever wanted to the highest insult on Mon was, bro, you post on TG. That was the highest of insults. And I thought that was the funniest fucking thing ever. That was a high insult. Like, you are like, oh, you post on TG because TG Monster Girl world building was that fucking despised for so long, which I thought was hysterical. I wonder if do they still talk about TG? No, luckily they do not. Yeah, so that was a high insult for a very long time. Well, the thing is, JP has been around a lot longer than many things. JP is otaku culture. And here's the thing, this is like the big thing that people sometimes forget about 4chan. Is 4chan is, at its core, an anime board. You can post anime on any board, and the mods will most likely not ban you. Unless it's like anime porn. That's an exception. But like, one of the big things is that it is a Japanese image board at its core. And because of that, otaku culture is a big thing. And things with like JP and stuff, it usually is, like, the big thing with like JP is that JP is for people who were posting shit on A where they shouldn't have. Or they did, like, it kind of became a dumping ground for other things. Because originally, like, it's redundant. It's not. Trust me, it's not redundant. It does serve a very dedicated purpose, mostly for Toho posting. Like, mostly for Toho posting, not gonna lie. But it does serve like a very important part of the sphere, so it doesn't boil over into other places. For example, like, you can't post Warhammer stuff on Toy, for example. That's a big thing. Because TG was actually born from people spamming Toy. That's JP. Literally, that's what JP was for Toho posters. But it kind of just became a home for a lot of different things. It's like, TG was born from Toy because nobody knew where to put. Like, nobody really knew where to put. Where do you put miniatures? Toy, I guess. No, there would be in threads upon threads upon threads of 40k stuff. Because people played 40k and people wanted to know. Like, where do you put board games? Nobody fucking knew. It was like Toy, I guess. So TG kind of was made for that. And it's a well-known fact. Moot posted exactly five times on TG. And it was asking about an Android Netrunner tournament. That was the reasons he posted on TG. He wanted to get a good he was going to an Android Netrunner tournament and he wanted the best advice. And I think he didn't do too hot in that because he got shit rocked by a fucking net deck. TG in general, it went through a few different things. And like there's a reason like board game, like fucking board games, one of the largest, probably the most important traditional game out there. He works at Google, actually. Fun fact, he works at Google. For what? I don't know. JP, yeah, exactly. There's nothing wrong with it. Well, popcorn porn, people talking about porn, and people asking for porn. Yeah, that sounds about right. Moot left Google? Oh, no fucking idea what Moot's doing now. Probably, yeah, I don't know, pretending to be the little girl. I think nowadays he just doesn't. You know, let's do a little bit of explanation. Christopher Poole. What are you doing, Chris? Tell us more. Left Google after 5 years at the company. Wait. So this is criticized after commitments toward increasing diversity, inclusion in their workforce. He started working product manager of Google Maps in Tokyo, Japan. He left Google April 13th, 2021. Okay, we can't go on Tumblr, everybody. Yeah. Yeah, I don't really know what Moot's doing these days. I think he's just kind of hanging out. Yeah, I think Poole's just kind of hanging out these days. No, don't. Do not bring up TG. If you bring up TG, you will get shit on repeatedly, and you will start a flame war. Like Christopher Poole isn't like exactly like a common, like isn't a uncommon name. Like that's not like a, oh wow, never heard of someone named. It's not like, oh, what's your name, Xanathar, Bukake or something. Yeah, no. Monster JP thread, if anyone wants to play your kid. Don't do it, please. No, don't. I don't want people yelling at me more. Even though I might actually have to talk to them about it. Because there's a few questions. Let's see. So distance of engagement. We engage a unit. Yeah, I'm going to put distance of engagement right here, which we're going to put into 3. So actually what I should do is the brigades attacking a trench are always considered to have, let's see. No. I should. Distance of engagement. Actually, attacking brigades must be within 4 inches. Must be within 4 inches of the defending. Attacking brigades must be within 4 inches of the trench they wish to assault. If they are not, the actual trek to the trench would simply result in too many casualties to do much. Pretty much the idea is it has to be within 4 inches. Actually, like, go there because you are rushing across a field. Effectively, you're rushing across no man's land to get shredded to fucking pieces. And that's kind of the point. Like, that's what I want to kind of get across is like, yeah, you rushing up there and you're taking damage. I did ask some questions to JP Mon for a bit. Like, if you actually engage with them kindly, they're actually pretty nice, but people usually don't, and people are usually dumb. That's why they kind of hate people from TG. Because the thing is, most of the people who were on JP Mon who got exiled went to TG. That was kind of the issue. They're not the actual check that the trench would simply result in too many casualty to do much. Which is going to lead to not heading 2, heading 3, which we've got distance of engagement. We have to do valid. Okay, thus we have to do ticks of combat. Enemy. So allied forces. Actually, no. We should do how do I want to word this? If a trench were to overlap another, if a trench were to overlap another, then crossfire. The crossfire would occur. If trench were to overlap another. I'm gonna have to draw this one out. But if trench were to overlap another, then crossfire would occur. Crossfire has two or more trenches fight a single wave of attackers at once. If this occurs, attackers will suffer major damage if they are not prepared for the attack. So effectively, what I'm trying to get across here more than anything is this very particular situation. Let's say, for example, this is us. So we're here. Blue is over. Like, we have a blue unit like right here. Now we want to assault. Normally, what we do is say, okay, cool. We are within distance. We're just going to rush up here. However, if the actual like player on blue did something like this, pretty much the approach would be within the distance. They would be able to crossfire. So these guys would be taking two bits of damage effectively. So that's like, oh no, let me. This would be, oh no, I'm dying and all my friends are dead. This is a kind of an inopportune place. Like, oh god, I'm losing people. However, the catch being, there's one very distinctive catch here that you have to understand, which is this situation, where if this is occurring, this is where some of the timings come in. Where if you're smart, attack from the flank here, and that cancels out their ability to assist. So you kind of want to time your attacks at different times. Delicious coffee. What should I spoke in text wall about D100? I like D100 I like D100 for 3 reasons. You can do minute changes in stats and such, which I think is very interesting. 2, usually you can make it very simple or very complex. D100 allows you to do that pretty easily. We in for the long haul? No, I drink coffee all the time, Ironside. You gotta remember that. I am a fucking coffee addict. I have a problem. And the third reason I really like D100 systems in general is me like go clackety clack. And the big thing that this is also a big thing that I think is always interesting when it comes to, is you also have another die to work with, which I feel is always kind of important, and that means you can also do various things with kind of a single roll. You can interpret a lot of information from it, which I think is very valuable. Which is, for example, you can do D100. I rolled an 62, for example, here. However, if I roll again, I rolled a 5 and a 2. I rolled 7. Or I can roll again and say, okay, cool. I rolled 5 and a fucking 2, and I can do things like that. Unknown Armies actually did some interesting things with that. Which, if you've never played Unknown Armies, the old Unknown Armies, do it. It's amazing. I adore Unknown Armies. Because Unknown Armies has a really fun system when it comes to melee and ranged combat. Because one of the big ideas behind Unknown Armies is, I've hit you, I've punched you in the face. I'm just going to add my dice together. So if I only have a 45 on my actual fisticuffs abilities, and I roll a 32, I've succeeded, but I'm only going to do 5 damage. I've punched you in the face, but not really that bad. And so it kind of gives a little bit of dynamic there. With guns, on the other hand, usually what occurs is you roll D100, and that's what, if you roll under your ability to hit, that's just how much damage you're going to do. So having a handgun and rolling a 52 means you're going to do 52 damage. You have aimed and shot somebody. They are on the ground bleeding to death, because that's what fucking guns do. And I do enjoy that, because you get a lot of information. Yeah, it is very... If you aren't completely in the idea, it's very off-putting. But that's kind of... I think that kind of comes with the territory of some games. Like, if you're not invested in the idea of this game, you might not like the idea of the game. So, what we want to do is we're going to do ticks of combat. So, ticks of combat. When two forces have engaged, the battle is split between a series of quote ticks. Each tick will deal damage to one side depending on the AV/DV of the other target. Normally, actually, there are three ticks of damage during a normal combat encounter. It goes DV, AV, DV. What this means is that the defender will deal their DV. They'll deal their DV damage to the attacking units. Then the attacker will deal their AV damage to the defenders. Then the defenders will deal their DV again into the attackers. This simulates a back and forth of men and rifles as they struggle to achieve victory. All of the units in the trench and attacking units, actually all of the defending units will add their values together for the final amount. For example, 3 infantry. So we want to do 3 infantry. 3 infantry attacking have an AV of 3. Infantry have AV 1. 3 infantry defending have a DV of 6. Infantry have DV 2. Every tick of damage reduces the organization of the receiver of the damage, actually of the other side by the value. Other side by the value indicated. If a unit's organization is ever reduced to 0, actually, let's see, reduce organization. Let's start by the value indicated. This quote damage is spread among the attacking or defending units. Defending units by the commander. If a unit organization reaches 0, then they are annihilated. Dead. Gone. If they still have more than zero organization, then they will fight at full strength. So we want to do ticks of combat. They will be annihilated, dead. So DV. So the entire idea is that you're always going to have additional thing. The defender is always going to have an advantage of just doing damage, or just raw. So this does lead me to actually, if a side were to gain an additional tick of damage, then it is placed before the earliest variety, the earliest one. So if a unit is defending in a, let me see, it'd be a forest, correct? Mountain defense. Yeah, the intelligence get an extra tick of damage for the attackers. Defending a river crossing. A river crossing would have DV, AV, DV. If the attackers were to gain additional ticks, it would be DV, AV, DV. There we go. No, you just want to explain what the fuck this is all about. So we understand how ticks work here. Ow. People keep posting all the damn bolt gun stuff. I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of excited for bolt gun. I like boomer shooters. Fuck you. So ticks of combat. So what I should do is, this would be, what else am I looking for? You gain additional ticks of damage that is placed before the earliest one. Ah, right. Exposed units. Actually, exposed versus exposed units. If both trenches were to leave at the exact same time, or actually if both trenches were to attack on the same at the same turn, attacking one another, they are considered to be in open fighting. Open fighting has both sides deal their AV damage to one another at the same time. At the same time. So it's kind of the idea that I have 5 AV, I have 3 AV, you have 3 AV. We meet in the field, we're both going to do 3 damage to each other. We know it's one of those, we've gone up, we've hit each other, it's AV, right at the same time. Nobody really goes first. To one another in unison. Actually together in unison. If it exposed versus exposed units, open fighting both sides deal their AV damage to another in unison. This may occur actually. So let's see, open fighting both sides deal AV to one another in units, which we're going to do flanked trenches. Should a trench be flanked from behind or from the side, then they are considered to be only using their AV for the defense. AV for their defense. This would make the damage, the ticks of damage look like colon, which would be defender's AV, attacker's AV. Defender's AV, attacker's AV. Importantly, they don't get an importantly, the defenders do not get a final third tick in this situation. Do not get a final third tick in this situation. Units who are let's see. We want to do artillery in combat. If a brigade were to ever be able to directly attack an artillery piece, the artillery has been captured and is removed from play. The commander in combat. If a brigade were to ever be able to directly attack the enemy commander, the commander is immediately killed. The commander is immediately killed, and they will lose the match, and they will lose the battle. There we go. So the big idea here is you want to protect your artillery, you want to protect your commander. You don't do that, you're going to fail. You're going to lose. They are going to steal your shit and they are going to kill you. And they're all going to laugh at you while doing it. I think like the best way to kind of describe this current situation would be, you know, we're here. The enemy is, the enemy is here. And then we have something like this. Like the commander is here. If I say, for example, hey, I'm going to attack, and I manage to take your trench, and I manage to take it, this one's mine now, and then I were to, and you don't move your commander next turn kind of thing, because why would you ever lose? You wouldn't be dumb enough to lose your commander. You're going to take their commander, and then you've automatically won. That's why taking like a single trench is a really big deal. And why I expect two things to occur. My two big ideas of what's going to occur. Either we're going to end up with defense in depth, with something like this, where you have like a front line where the majority of your troops are always going to be located, but then you have the back line, which like only like 1 or 2 units are going to be, but your commander is going to be like right here. So it's like you have a kind of defense in depth situation going on here, or it's you're ending up with lines looking like this, where you can always kind of reinforce one another, making lines very difficult to beat. The worst thing you could probably do is just build straight lines, unless they're huge, and you're defending. If you're defending, straight lines are great. Because the idea is that they have to kind of attack you at angles that are maybe not the best. Like you can bring a lot more of your defense to bear on these larger trenches. So it's a push and pull here. You can be more maneuverable with smaller trenches. You can put those in a little bit more precise locations to get things like crossfire. However, you need those bigger trenches are better at defending because you can just put more dudes in them. However, you can't really upgrade them very easily, and you can't really move them at all. I'm assuming most trenches are going to end up about 4 inches. That'd be my guess, about 4 units. So let's see, we've got artillery in combat, commander in combat. Actually we'll do artillery versus brigades. Commander versus brigades. Exposed versus exposed units. Yeah, if you ever want a really awkward situation, by sheer technicality, if you both run out at the same time, or you both advance, you technically would be able to fight one another and just start shooting each other. What, you really shouldn't? We want to do artillery versus brigades. This is not the prettiest thing in the world, but it'll work for now. Exposed versus exposed brigades, commander versus brigades. And then we're going to do artillery in combat. Artillery in combat. Actually, artillery in defensive. Artillery comes in two varieties: defensive, and offensive. Defensive artillery allows the commander to deal damage to enemies. Deal damage to enemies that are approaching the combat zone. Approaching a protected trench. Let's see, defensive artillery approaching a protected trench. This is starting tick of damage against the attackers, potentially resulting in casualties immediately. So it's kind of the idea of like, if you have just massed engaged artillery, yeah, you're going to do that. If your defensive artillery is fantastic, if you want to defend a location, because even half the unit, normally what's going to happen is like, oh, half a unit's not going to do very well. However, if you do this entire thing, if everybody is firing all at once, you may be able to do a shit ton of damage beforehand, and even a few units may be able to hold back a much larger force, potentially resulting in casualties immediately. Offensive artillery has the commander shell the enemy trenches. Enemy trenches on the approach, dealing damage to the defenders before the main assault occurs. Let's do EO. Actually, I should put this in. If friendly brigades were to leave their trench for an attack at this time, let's see. If friendly brigades were to leave their trench for an attack at this time, they would take damage equal to the artillery piece being fired for friendly fire is possible. Be cautious. This is literally a very astronomically small chance of this occurring, but that is, you've ordered defensive artillery and then you've gotten up to attack. The only time this will really occur is that if you are fucking with your opponent. If you honestly are fucking with your opponent, or like or a situation occurs that results in you being in this situation, which is, hey, I wasn't planning on you attacking, but if you did attack, I was going to artillery you. But I don't think you're going to do this, so I'm rushing first. So that's you rushing out, them rushing out, both of you meeting in the center, and both of you getting shelled by artillery. By your own artillery. Let's see. Dealing damage to defenders before the main assault occurs. How do I want to word this? Excellent. Okay. Kind of repeating myself there. It's so defensive would be you leave your trench to attack them while they're attacking you. Offensive is if they leave their trench to attack you. You're taking your own offensive. If you think they're going to be offensively attacking you, throw a fucking random conscript at them. Throw a conscript unit at them. Sacrifice that man. Kill him. Because he's going to rush up. He's going to deal no damage. And he's going to force them to get bogged down in shit. He's going to die. You're sacrificing a man to die. And you've pretty much used an order to kill someone. For no real gain outside of artillerying their own position. That's the one benefit, is that you can force somebody to hit themselves with artillery. And that's funny. So, okay, so we do this. We want to do... in combat. Potentially resulting in that. So let's see what else. What other situations are we really working with? What other situations are we working with? We are working with. And this is just the most simple variety of this. This is just the most absolute simple understanding of combat. I feel like I'm missing something. Oh, retreat orders, that's it. So, retreat orders. So, retreat whistle. The final thing a commander may do is call for retreat whistle. Actually, the whistle of the whistle of death and retreat. Final thing to do is call for. The final thing a commander actually, when all ticks of damage have been resolved, the commander may choose the attacking commander. The attacking commander may make a choice to either commit to either force the attack or retreat. Forcing the attack has another full set of damage be resolved by both sides, increasing the casualties on of both with any surviving brigades. This may result in for example, forcing a standard attack. Okay, let's see. For example, a standard attack is a DV, AV, DV, and the attacker forcing it would instead make it DV, AV, DV, DV, AV, DV. So it's kind of the idea of like, you are forcing the attack. You are saying, we're going to keep moving. We're going to keep charging. Like, no matter what, we're not falling back. We're not, pulling back. We're not resting. We're going to throw more bodies and more men at it. This is the best thing to do if you have overwhelming numbers and you need to take something. Because you're going to take way more losses. Even a handful of defenders can probably inflict you could lose another unit or two very easily during this time, because they're getting 4 ticks of damage to your 2. If you have overwhelming numbers, you're going to be able to get, you're going to lose people, but you're going to be able to kill them. You're going to be able to take a trench if you force attack. But they can potentially maul you, and if you get hit and they put themselves in the right position, you might lose more units than you've ever even taken before you even thought about taking it. Let's see. Forcing the artillery does not fire on a Does not fire on a force attack. I wanted to make that as a note. Retreating. Retreating has the attacking brigades. Brigades fall back. Fall back to their trench line. To their trench. They are battered and bruised. They are battered and bruised, but they will live. But they will live. From there, they take their positions back up. Take their positions back up, and ready themselves for their next orders. There we go. Hence why this is actually very kind of a fascinating situation that you can find yourself in. Mostly when you find not this. This is mostly used for this kind of weird wording here. Is for this situation. Because remember, ticks of damage is only defender AV minus and then attacker's AV. You can continue to force attack. Look, you can continue to force attack this. And if you continue to force attack this, you're kind of trading with them. So if you have overwhelming numbers and you're attacking a flank trench, keep force attacking. Who cares if you lose men? Who cares? We can afford losses. We can afford the dead. I want to turn the light on it. Ow. Back in the place. Alright. This is a lot of information here, and this should be okay. It's it's not a very complicated thing. There's just a lot of little things to consider. So this should work pretty well. Which brings me to the resupply phase. So the resupply phase. When all orders in combat have been resolved, the resupply phase begins. Both commanders take stock of the dead and dying, and reassign soldiers as required. So, during the resupply phase. Let's see. Any reserve. Okay, during resupply phase, the following may be performed by the commander. See, the following may be performed by the commander. So, any unit will actually know we want to do reinforcements. Restore one organization for 2 supply. Restore one organization on a unit for 2 supply. We're going to do call the reserves. Call reserves. Place a brigade from the reserves onto the field. Either deploying in a captured trench, or let's see, place a brigade from the reserves onto the field, either deploying from a captured trench or within 3 inches of the commander. Let's see, reinforcements, call reserves. Shuffle soldiers. Units within trenches. Actually, brigades within trenches. Brigades within trenches that are within 3 inches of one another. can freely move brigades around. Can freely move brigades around. Freely move brigades around, and there we go. Yep, that's literally all you can do during the resupply phase. Restore organization for your very limited supply. Give or call the reserves up. Just literally just deploy them, as many as you want. Place. Actually, I should say any number of brigades from the reserves onto the field, either deploying in a capture trench or within 3 inches of the commander. Let's see. Brigades within trenches that are within 3 inches of one another can freely move brigades among the trench. I'm going to have to put a visual of this one, because it's kind of to represent this visually is, let's say this is a trench. Let's say this is a trench, and let's say you captured like this trench over here in the last engagement. At the start, at the kind of during the end phase, during the resupply phase, if I have a troop here, here, and here, and here, and 2 troops up here, because this is out of range, because let's say this is like 4 or 5 inches, I can't do that. However, if I want to, I could shuffle all of these guys, you know, into, okay, that's a bad example. I can shuffle 2 of these soldiers into here with no penalty. There's no problem with me doing that. However, I can't shuffle these 2 soldiers up here. They're not within. However, this is the kind of the big kicker here, you could say, is that it's just as long as they are connected. So if we have, let's say, another trench over here, you know, this is still outside of range, and let's say there's a single troop here. You know, let's say there's just a single troop right here. I can shuffle these 2 all the way over here, even though it may be out of range, but because they're all within 3 inches of one another, I can shuffle among them anytime. That's moving through trench lines. That's just moving. That's very easy. If you're more than that, you're kind of disconnected, and you'd have to go into no man's land. However, if I wanted to, if it'd be like, I need these troops to be up here during their next turn, I can give them the order to make an advance up here and be up here now. So this is kind of encouraging you to be like, oh, well, maybe I want to build a trench like right here. If I build a trench right there, suddenly I can start transferring units all over, because I've connected my networks up. It also helps to cuck your opponent sometimes and just be an annoying dick, especially if you have, let's say, a line that looks like this, for example. Like, yeah, here's a giant fuck you line that has like an absurd number of troops in it that normally we wouldn't be able to really move very well. Now, normally we wouldn't be able to move very well. However, since we have this network, we can kind of freely move around and reshuffle our troops. Again, this game, what I want this game to be is a lot of thinking smart, if not thinking ahead. So, let's see, during the resupply phase, let's see, we go down here. And then there we go. If the commander does not have supplies, or reserve brigades, then they cannot perform these actions. And they cannot perform these actions. it is entirely likely nothing will occur during the resupply phase. That's kind of the idea. It's entirely likely that nothing will occur. However, I am going to put a note at the bottom here, which is going to be ending the battle. This is going to be the very end, which is actually further turn. We'll do further turns and ending the battle. After the resupply phase, the next turn begins at the orders phase and continues. The battle will end in four situations. 1. The commander is dead. The commander is dead. A commander has fallen to the enemy. They are dead. The battle is lost. Turns out getting shot does kind of ruin your ability to lead. Because remember, you are the commander. You are on the field making these orders. So, let's see. Wiped out. We'll do wiped out. The army has completely fled. No units remain. Has completely fled or has been annihilated. No units remain with any organization. That's the tabling option. We've wiped out all your units. You're dead. You've lost. Been annihilated. Arms completely fled. Has been annihilated on the field. No units remain with any organization on the battlefield. There we go. So that's kind of this is the most likely occurrence if you're to table an opponent is this. The commander is dead. You've taken a trench line and then you immediately attack the commander. However, wiped out is a little bit different. Wiped out is the idea that you have been kind of killed in a way. You've clearly lost some men. And if you have I have two soldiers, I'm going to only deploy 2 of my soldiers, ha ha ha, and they just get immediately wiped out and killed. Yeah, you're not going to win. This is a meme prevention strat right here. We'll do objective victory. The army has secured its victory. Has secured the main objective, as well as kept their own objective for 4 we'll do 4 turns. Actually, we'll do 6 turns. Actually, 4. We'll do the army secured the main objectives will kept for 4 turns for the attacker and 6 turns for the defender. Well, then we'll do the stalemate. The armies stare at one another for longer. The battle continues. Let's see. The armies stare at one another for longer. Trenches are dug deeper, and the battle will not end. No side has achieved victory. And let's do. We're doing this as in 8. No side has achieved victory in 8 turns. So most likely, objective victory is going to happen for the defender. If the defender can deduce, here's the big thing. If the defender can deduce where the primary objective is and defend the primary objective as well as defend their own objective, they're good. But the thing is, you have to take the main objective, and the attacker has to take their main objective. So since you don't know each other's objectives, you're trying to kind of eye that up. So the defender has a little bit of advantage because they already have one victory point effect. They already kind of have one. They're already ahead of the game. They're going to win if they manage to take the first one. However, the attacker knows this and is probably going to go really hard on it. But you kind of also want to go hard on your own objective. So stalemate is entirely possible. That's 8 turns, which is 2 months. So, well, no side has achieved victory at 8 turns. Trenchfoot heavily favors the defender. However, the attacker sets the pace of the battle. Sets the pace of the battle at the start, forcing the defender to make choices and compromise on their objectives. While also trying to figure out the attacker's agenda. Stalemating is likely as many battles ended in the Great War. If a battle stalemates, and there's still a desire for a quote winner, tally up the lost points and remaining supplies. Whoever has the highest value of troops and supply remaining has emerged victorious. Has emerged victorious with a hollow victory. So it's kind of the idea of like if you really want to win, you just tally up remaining points. So if you only have a couple fucking conscripts left, but we've won, did it, everybody. We've stalemated. You didn't really win. Nobody really won, though. Like, that's kind of the idea, being like, it's a stalemate. It's a stalemate over a defeat. You didn't win. You didn't lose. You just didn't. You won a technical victory, not a literal one. You've still lost. Everybody is dead. All my friends are dead. Send help. And that's kind of the sad part about that. It's like, oh well, that's a bummer. I didn't win, but you also didn't lose necessarily. So let's see. Trying to after the commander. The commander is dead. So I should do. Okay. We got combat done. We've got. Okay. All right. That's a majority of actually like the. If you want me to be honest, that is a majority of the game done. Like this, the game part of the game is done. Like, what, like, needs to be done now, I'll probably do on fucking Friday, because it's not really that, I'll give you a secret. This isn't actually very intense, what needs to be done here, so I might just delay till Friday. One guy from Rostov keeps showing up. Like, oh boy, Rostov. Good old Russia. Russia. So, generally speaking, what we'll do on Friday is things like the National Armories. And I decided that I want to keep this, like, what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to go through here and just remajigger some things to kind of give each of these a little bit more, I want to say oomph to it, make things just a little bit clearer, fix some things up. I might increase the damage value of artillery up a little bit just to match their supply cost, because that's very expensive for very little. Just a little bit, because what the idea is, I want artillery to be able to just annihilate a fucking conscript. If you want a conscript route, you're going to lose a conscript. You're going to lose people by just doing like artillery rushes. Everyone's just going to die. So my two fears, what I might actually do is I might guilt trip my friend into helping me. And I'm going to guilt trip my friend into helping me for doing two things. Is I want to run a game, a full match of this. Just full on out and see how it goes. If I can get it to work, it's going to work great, I think. But like the main big thing is that most of like the national, like the quote national armories, is each of the various nations are going to get some like basic stuff, just modifiers to like their base troops. Now the big one is, what I should add is extra details and atrocities. Let's do yeah, just a little bit more like sample combat stuff, being like, hey, build tunnels, or like build a little bit more of the weirder tactics that occurred, and like, hey, we want to do a naval invasion game, we want to do Gallipoli, then like here's a, actually I should do like, and like my big goal is I want to create a Gallipoli situation. We are navally invading a place, and as such, what are the rules for this? If I want to navally invade this is what I have to do. You're going to have to like make a boat trip. You're going to have to go there. Once you land at a location, you're considered exposed until you spend supplies digging a fucking trench. However, they're going to be able to get shots off on you first. You're going to lose people. It's going to be a rip, and it's kind of up to you as the player to kind of determine whatever, like, where people shuffling around, be like, where do we dig trenches? Where don't we dig trenches? Mostly when you're thinking the defender is going to get a lot of free trenches effectively. They're going to be able to entrench fully, and they're going to have different situations, and you're just not really going to be able to entrench very well. And I might put a, let me say, actually, look, I'm curious. Eastern Front, World War I, trenches. That's one big thing. Yeah, Eastern Front much more fluid, and trenches never really developed. So what I might do is what we'll call is the Eastern conflicts. Eastern conflict situation, which is everybody is like constantly exposed. That's kind of the idea. like that's one of the like core ideas, that everybody is exposed. Everyone's doing attack, and it's about like, I want to stack up in a single location, and it's you as the commander are a lot more exposed and a lot more in danger because you're like trying to move troops around and things like that. And then obviously we have the eras and like kind of shifting priorities around, and like the big thing is putting in tanks. I know how to put in a tank. They're pretty much going to be almost like artillery in a way. They're going to be a big ass metal piece of sadness that is going to fuck somebody's day up. The catch being is that you have to deploy them for, like, it's very expensive to get them out there, and you have to spend supplies to get them moving. So it's like, if you can delay them long enough, they're going to just hemorrhage supply that they can no longer use the tank. But they're going to be able to break one or two of your trenches very easily. Actually, that reminds me. Combat phase. Taking a trench. If by some miracle or bloodshed, the brigade destroys the defenders, destroy the defending soldiers. They have captured the trench. They immediately occupy it. They immediately occupy it facing the direction they charged from. Let's see. Trenches within 3 inches of one another. One another can, quote, attack one another as if they were flanking the trench. So it's kind of that idea, like, if you take a trench, you could immediately start doing a lot of fucking scary things to them, especially, let me see, especially if you have things such as, right here, where is it, where are you, right here, stormtroopers, because you're always attacking a trench, so technically your AV is always going to be 3. And the big thing is, it's when you are redeploying troops, you can throw a lot of reserves at it. The idea being that, like, you're kind of funneling troops in there really quickly. You've broken the line, it's time to go. And when it's time to go, it's time to fuck, and you're gonna probably fucking die. But that's kind of my idea. The only unit that I'm, like, not 100% on is cavalry. Cavalry's I'm a little bit iffy on, and guards are either going to be insane or they are not, but they are very expensive. So I think I'm a little okay with that. So I'm gonna call it there for today. Thank you all for watching. My name is Notepad Anon. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your night. I will see you all on Friday. Again, that'll be the last day of Trenchfoot. Lasted a little bit longer than I thought, but I didn't quite get what I wanted to get done last night. I worked on the images and a bunch of other little things. The video took longer than I thought, actually. On Friday, we're actually going to be doing it. Tomorrow is Rapid Fire number 5, actually. We're going over Psychoro fiction games. So hopefully we got some fun ones in there. No Vor this time, luckily. No Vor games. So sorry Vor kings out there who feel like getting eaten by their waifu. So sorry, everybody. Heroines of the First Stage video actually did pretty well, which I'm actually happy about. So yay, Pog, go me. All right, I'll see you all later. Godspeed, good luck, and have a nice rest of the night.